We're gathered this morning to commemorate the Shloshim of our beloved Dean Emeritus, Rabbi Moshe Gottesman, Rav Moshe ben Usher Zelik, Zichrono Livracha. The first 30 days following one's burial are called Shloshim from the Hebrew word Shloshim, meaning 30. Now during Shloshim, the halachot allow for a gradual re-entry into everyday life following the Shiva, which of course is much more intense. If you're a mourner, it's very hard to get up from Shiva and jump back into normal life. That wouldn't be healthy. And so you have this period of time called Shloshim, where there are halachot, but it's a little more relaxed than it is during Shiva. And after the completion of Shloshim, it's customary for family members and those close with the family to gather and pay tribute to the one who passed. And that's what we're doing this morning. We're paying tribute and we're expressing Hakarat HaTov to the great Rabbi Gottesman, who was really family to all of us. He was a father figure to all in the Hank family. And learning the importance of expressing Hakarat HaTov is something that Rabbi Gottesman taught. Anyone who knew Rabbi Gottesman talks about this above all else. Like most of you sitting in this room, I did not have the privilege of spending much time with Rabbi Gottesman. I came here after he was mostly retired. However, I do feel that I knew him on a personal level. And quite honestly, I think most of you, if not all of you, knew him on a personal level as well. So how does that even make sense if you didn't even meet the man? You see, our yeshiva's culture and value system was very much established by Rabbi Gottesman and our founding Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Findel. And that exact culture, the same culture that they established, is what we strive to uphold today. The reason why so many of us love being part of Hank, and why our yeshiva is regarded as not only a Makom Torah, and not only a place to get a great education, but also a loving, nurturing environment, is due in large part to what Rabbi Gottesman created. This is why I feel that I knew him personally. Because every day, every single day that I'm here, I and you can feel his presence permeating throughout this place. Rabbi Gottesman began in Hank in 1960, and he was a Rabbi and an administrator here for 42 years. He remained involved in the yeshiva pretty much till the end of his life. So our program today is going to have three parts. First, we're going to hear personal reflections from Rabbi Chesser and Rabbi Rudensky. Rabbi Chesser was hired to be a Rebbe at Hank by Rabbi Gottesman, and their professional relationship blossomed into a very close personal relationship. And they stayed in touch till the very end of Rabbi Gottesman's days. After that, we will hear from Rabbi Rudensky, who was a close student of Rabbi Gottesman's, and he even spoke at Rabbi Gottesman's funeral. And then he became a colleague of Rabbi Gottesman, and you will hear about the tremendous Hakarat HaTov that Rabbi Rudensky has for all that Rabbi Gottesman did for his family. After they speak, we're going to make a siyum on Masechet Makot. The Rabbeim divided up the entire Masechet, each of us taking a certain number of blot of Gemara, and we're going to make a siyum today. And then after that, we're going to be launching 3 special initiatives in Rabbi Gottesman's memory. Before I call on Rabbi Chesser, I do want to take a moment to recognize the presence of 3 very important people here at Hank who took from their very busy schedules to be with us. Our school president, Dr. Ruchi Kushner, is here. Thank you so much for coming, Dr. Kushner. Our chairperson, our chairman of the board of Hank is Mr. W. Marilis, who's here with us this morning. Thank you so much. And our chairperson of the Board of Education, Dr. Lauren Deitch, is here as well. So we thank all of you for making the time to be here with us. At this time, I would like to call upon Rabbi Chesser to share his reflections.
Expression larger than life. If you don't know what the expression means, think Rabbi Gottesman. I have to say that standing here, the first thing that comes to mind is that Rabbi Gottesman used to stand here. Rabbi Gottesman, whenever he spoke to the school, he would start out in Hebrew. And he would speak in Hebrew for about a minute or two. And he spoke a very fluent and quick Hebrew. And most of the student body, and I would say the faculty also, couldn't keep up. But we respectfully listened and waited for him to switch over to English. He made a point without lecturing us that this is our language. It's a language that we have to work on and develop it as our own. Rabbi Gottesman would stand here at student orientation, the very first day of the year, and he would say, boys and girls, look around you and look for a student who's new to the school and make him or her feel welcome and feel comfortable. That was his message. He did not talk about getting high grades on your tests and on your report cards. He spoke about chesed. He spoke about making others feel comfortable. Everybody was happier when Rabbi Gottesman was around. If Rabbi Gottesman was walking the halls, there was a life, an inexplicable excitement in the halls. He would frequently visit the classrooms, and when he'd walk into the classroom, everybody would stand up, and they would sit down, and their faces would brighten, and they would sit at the edge of their seats to listen to Rabbi Gottesman's message. And Rabbi Gottesman's message could be anything on any given visit. He brought this magic with him into the classroom, and he would just randomly talk about any of the following topics. He'd point to the map of Israel on the wall and say, who heard of this city, who heard of this moshav? And he'd give us the history of it, and he would talk about the beauty of that city or that village, and he would tell us when he would visit that village and so on and so forth. And in this way, he gave us a love to Eretz Yisrael. He would point to the picture of Rav Kook and give us a love and appreciation for the teachings of Rav Kook. He would talk to us about Rav Aryeh Levine, one of his heroes, one of the great leaders of Torah and Chesed in Klal Yisrael. He would tell us stories of his past. He would talk about his mother. He would talk about his friends. He would talk about his teachers, his Rabbis. He would talk about his family. And anyone who was here on the staff in the late 1990s can't forget when his grandson was born in Chicago very prematurely. And he showed us on his hand that his grandson was smaller than his hand. And that doctors said that this child has a very, very small chance of survival. And he stood here and he yelled, but we believe in Hashem, and we believe in miracles, and we believe in the Koach HaTfilah. And everybody davened. And he would give us frequent reports, daily reports, on how his grandson was doing. And then we heard the great news that he's out of the woods, and he's going to survive. We lived this along with him. He taught us how important family is. So we all felt like family. He showed us that education and academic achievement is important, but it's only part of our lives here in school. There's also family, There's also Am Yisrael. We have to love every member of Klal Yisrael, and we have to act on behalf of Klal Yisrael. We have to love Eretz Yisrael, and we have to act on behalf of Eretz Yisrael. We have to love Chesed, and we have to do Chesed. We have to do Tzedakah. Rabbi Gottesman had his own free loan fund, and he would approach members of the staff and say, "You need a loan. If you ever need a loan, don't hesitate to come ask me." There are friendships that are so important, which is something that he stressed. And of course, Torah and Torah leaders were so important to him, and he wanted it to be important to us. So education is, of course, of paramount importance, but only within the framework of all these things. Less than a month ago, I was at the Shiva of Rabbi Gottesman's family, and one of his daughters related the story when Rabbi Gottesman was in charge of the tours of Camp Sdei Chemed. And he was a student who misbehaved, and he had to be thrown out of camp. And that was the decision. And Rabbi Gottesman, who believed that a child should never be thrown out of school and should never be thrown out of camp, he had no choice. Everybody said, "This kid has to go." Rabbi Gottesman called the child into his office and he said, "You have to be dismissed from the camp. However, I'm going to take you in as my guest, my personal guest. I'm allowed to have my family with me, and I can have my personal guest, so you'll be my guest. Remember, as my guest, you have to behave." And in this way, he saved this kid's summer, and maybe his life. And that reminded me of a story which I didn't have time to say at the Shiva, but I'll share that story with you, and I'll end with this. Rabbi Gottesman was the Rabbi of his shul in Oceanside. He did many things for the Jewish community of Oceanside, as you might know, but he was also the Rabbi. There was a boy in shul, we call him Josh, who misbehaved in shul. And the powers that be in the shul said that this kid cannot come to shul anymore. And they told his father, "You cannot bring your child, you can't bring Josh to shul anymore." Rabbi Gottesman came to the rescue. He took the child and he said, "You stand next to me by Kriyat HaTorah." He was the Rabbi. He says, "I have a very, very important job for you." He says, between aliyot, when the Torah is being read, it has to be open. But between aliyot, we close the Torah and we cover it. Your job is to cover the Torah when it's not being read, and to uncover it when the next person comes up to read the Torah. It's a very important job because it shows honor to the Torah. And in this way, he kept him next to him for the entire Kriyat HaTorah, and by giving him this responsibility, his behavior improved. And he became an important member of the shul. Fast forward to when this child was in 11th grade, not in Hank, but in a different school. He got into trouble. He stole the Regents exam the night before the Regents. And he was expelled from the school, and no school wanted to take him. Here he's a year before graduation, and he can't find the high school. He applied to Hank. Hank would not take him. Rabbi Gottesman came to the rescue again. He says, "What? Josh? He's one of the Gabodim in our shul. Josh is a responsible young man. He might have made a mistake. He's coming to Hank." And he was outvoted, but Rabbi Gottesman insisted, and he said, "I take full responsibility for him." I taught Josh in 12th grade. I was not aware of this story. I was not aware even that he was sent out of another school. I knew Josh as an average student who passed, did well, graduated, and moved on. A few years later, I met him in Muncie, where I live, and Josh had already started a family. Now, Josh's children are teenagers, and they all go to yeshiva. Josh is one of many, many students who were saved by Rabbi Gottesman. Rabbi Gottesman believed in every student and never, ever gave up on a child. So there are generations who owe their existence to Rabbi Gottesman. And as Rabbi Edelman said before, even though most of you did not know him, but you owe so much to Rabbi Gottesman because all your teachers knew him. And we continue to promote his ideals. Yehi Zechro Baruch.
Normally when people go to a Shloshim, they know the person. This Shloshim is different. Most of you in this room do not know who Rabbi Gottesman was. But you all know that he was a very special person and a very important part of Hank, as Rabbi Chester beautifully explained. I met Rabbi Gottesman when I was about your age. I was a 9th grader at Hank, and he was my principal. Rabbi Gottesman made a difference in my life and in the lives of so many others. His strong values and messages made an impact on all of us. I must add that Rabbi Gottesman was extremely proud of the Rabbeim and the Morot on the staff. He had so much respect for your Rabbeim and Morot and the faculty. The same goes for your Menachel, Rabbi Edelman, Mrs. Palea, Mora Zucker, Rabbi Mezzi, and Rabbi Ehrenfeld, who in their administrative capacities have done a wonderful job of continuing the legacy that was set up by Rabbi Fendel and Rabbi Gottesman. Rabbi Gottesman is also grateful to the lay leadership, to Dr. Ruki Kushner as president, to Dr. Lauren Dage and Duby Marilis as board of directors. As Rabbi Fendel, the founder and dean of Hank, said at Rabbi Gottesman's Levaya in Israel, Rabbi Gottesman gave us a sense of mission. He taught us to think about others, to be grateful to others. He worked hard to instill this mindset of being outwardly focused and to be nosei b'ol chavero, to share in the burdens of your friends. Here are some examples that you can relate to, even though there are many years that separate my experience as a teenager to yours. At breakfast, Rabbi Gottesman would tell us, clean up after yourselves. And we gave the same answers that you give today. There are custodians. They clean it up. And Rabbi Gottesman's response to us was, we're not raising them. We want to make you into better people. And if you clean up, you will become better people. Rabbi Gottesman would say, clean up. Some bottles on the floor. Who leaves bottles on stairways? Clean it up. Last year, I was driving on Hempstead Avenue, and I saw a friend of mine I hadn't seen in years. He stopped his car. He got out of his car, and he goes and he picks up a box that is in the middle of the road. And I was following him, and I stopped my car. And I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing in the middle of the road? And I haven't seen him for years. So he said to me, I can't get Rabbi Gottesman out of my mind. Rabbi Gottesman taught us to do chesed in school. As Rabbi Chester said, to think about others, to say hello to someone who needs hello, to notice whether someone is sitting by his or herself at breakfast and lunch, day in and day out by themselves, and to go over them. To include people into your group. If someone is sick, give them a call. If you had cell phones today, Rabbi Gottesman tells us to call immediately. If someone is not doing well in a course, don't give the proverbial, I feel so bad for you. Go help them, not during the examination, but before the examination. Reach out to people. When we got into trouble in school, Rabbi Gottesman, one of his first lines was, think about your parents. Give them nothing. Why do you want me to call them? Don't you want me to call them about a good report? Why a negative report? And it was a tall order for teenagers, but it got us thinking. And even if that did not affect us at that moment, the message stayed with us. When our Rabbi invited us to a Shabbaton in Borough Park, we did not want to go. We were Long Island boys, and going to Borough Park seemed the other side of the world. Little did I know that Baruch Hashem, I would marry a wonderful girl from Borough Park. We really didn't want to go, but I remember clearly as if it was yesterday, Rabbi Gottesman coming into our class and telling us that we have to think outward, that we should think about the Rabbi who's hosting, and about the other kids who want to go. I remember that speech from many years ago, and it made an impression, that we should think of others. And we did go. And I remember Rabbi Gottesman did not ask us if we had a good time, but did others have a good time? He taught us that it wasn't only about us and our needs. And I surely don't want to politicize this Shloshim, but Rabbi Gottesman would tell you boys, go on the boys' retreat. He would say, think about others. Think about your Rabbeim. Think about how important the retreat is to your friends and to the school. And go, even if you have other things you would rather do. The message is so important. It will help you in your future, jobs, in your marriages, and in your life. Rabbi Gottesman was a visionary, and he had to be. He was the dean of 4 campuses. He had to think globally because that was his job. But he was so committed to the individual. Richard Joel, the former president of Yeshiva University and a very close friend of Rabbi Gottesman, told a story that truly highlights Rabbi Gottesman's life. A young man was walking along the shore after a major storm. The waves had dumped thousands of starfish on the shore and the sand. The child observed the man fling a starfish into the ocean. "What are you doing?" he asked of the man. The man responded, "The starfish are dying on the sand. If I don't throw the starfish back, they will surely perish." Do you realize how many starfish there are along the shore? How can you possibly make a difference? The man picked up another starfish. He looked at the child and he hurled the creature back. "I made a difference on that one," he said. And then he moved a few feet and threw another starfish, and then another and another. That man was Rabbi Gottesman. He made a difference one by one. How many people are religious today because of Rabbi Gottesman? How many people have jobs because of Rabbi Gottesman? How many people are married because of Rabbi Gottesman? How many people felt taken care of because of Rabbi Gottesman? And how many people just feel good about themselves because of Rabbi Gottesman? He did it one by one, always connecting and worrying about the individual. And he did it along with his wonderful wife, Mrs. Sandra Gottesman. One person at a time, one mitzvah at a time. Last year we started a mitzvah campaign for the refuah shlema for my son, Yonatan Moshe ben Hensha. My son, Baruch Hashem, is doing well, and we hope and pray to Hashem for his continued refuah. I thank you and believe your tefillos and mitzvahs really carry the day. This year we want to do the mitzvah campaign in memory of Rabbi Gottesman and Yibodel L'chaim Tovim for the continued refuah shlema for my son and for others. Under the advisement of Rabbi Nezi and Rabbi Ismail, we are going to do it a little differently this year. During your first period class, each student will have the opportunity to select a mitzvah, such as davening, sitzes, benching, brachas, filling chakras. If you do the mitzvah consistently, it does not have to be 100%. We will hold a raffle with prizes for each class. It will be a tremendous schutz for Rabbi Gottesman for all these mitzvahs to happen on his behalf. If there's anyone who deserves these mitzvahs, it is Rabbi Gottesman who did so much for him. Rabbi Gottesman taught us from an early age the concept of Hakarat Hatov. How could we say goodbye to Rabbi Gottesman and give Rabbi Gottesman the proper Hakarat Hatov? There is no better way to honor him than to emulate his ways. Maybe in honor of the Shloshim today, just once think about someone else. Think about your parents, your Rabbi, your teacher, your friend. Think what you can do for them. We, the Rabbeim and the Morah, can show our Hakarat Hatov to Rabbi Gottesman by teaching and showing you, our hand students, the Torah way, the way Rabbi Gottesman showed us. When I last visited Rabbi Gottesman this past September, I am sure Rabbi Gottesman's last words to me were, "Thank you for coming." But thank you, Rabbi Gottesman, for all you have done for me personally, for my family, and for thousands of Hank students, past, present, and future. To quote Rabbi Fidel from his Hesed, thank you, Hashem, for giving the Jewish world, and especially the Hebrew Academy of Nassau County, a giant like Rabbi Moshe Gottesman.
Rabbi Chester and Rabbi Yansky for your powerful and meaningful words. As I said at the outset, there are 3 parts to this program. Part 2 is going to be a siyum, which is very appropriate at a Shloshim. The Rabbeim divided up Masechet Makot, and we'll be making the siyum right now. At this time, I'd like to call up Rabbi Friedberg, who will be completing the Masechet and making the siyum.
As the representative of the numerous Rebbeim that participated in finishing Masechta Makos. The end of Masechta, the very end, is a very appropriate story for this occasion. You might have heard the incident before. Rabbi Akiva was walking on his way to Yerushalayim together with some of his colleagues, and they passed first Har HaTzofim, and when they got to the Har HaBayit, when they got to the Temple Mount, they saw a fox jump out from the place where the Kodesh HaKadoshim was, the holiest place. And his colleagues started to cry, and Rabbi Akiva started to laugh. And they said to him, why are you laughing? He said, why are you crying? They answered, we're crying because the place over here where nobody that's anything other than a Kohen is allowed to go to, now there's a fox that just jumped out over there. That's why we're crying. Upon which Rabbi Akiva said, they said to him, what are we laughing about? He said, there's a prophecy. The prophecy in Yeshaya links together a prophecy of Uriah HaKohen and Zechariah. What do the two have to do with each other? Uriah lived in the time of the first Beit Mikdash, and Zechariah lived in the time of the second Beit Mikdash. He said, they're linked together because Uriah's prophecy was that Sion, is going to become like a plowed field, one that has been destroyed. Zechariah, on the other hand, said, Od Yeshua, it says that Od Yeshua Zakinu Berchavot Yerushalayim. Old men and old women will once again sit in the streets of Yerushalayim. Uriah was foretelling the destruction. Zechariah was foretelling the rebuilding of Yerushalayim and Beit HaMikdash. And the Gemara concludes with Rabbi Kiva saying the following. Goes, until I saw that the prophecy of Uriah came true, I was afraid that maybe the prophecy of Zechariah will also never come true. But now that we see that Uriah's prophecy came true, the destruction of the Beis Mikdash, there's even a fox that's jumping out of the Malkam Kodesh HaKodashim. I see that that prophecy came true. It's obviously also that the prophecy of Zechariah, that it will be rebuilt, will also come true. Upon which his colleague said to him, Shom Hazeh Amrulo, his colleague said to him the following words, Akiva, Yichamtanu, Akiva, Yichamtanu. Akiva, you have comforted us. Akiva, you have comforted us. What an appropriate Gemara to end off this siyum upon the commemoration of the Shloshim of Rabbi Gottesman, a man who, as was said before, loved Eretz Yisrael so much. He was ripped out of his homeland in his youth, brought to Canada first, and he was in his own way, in his own galut. But he had the opportunity every single summer to be able to go back to Eretz Yisrael as the tour director of Camp Sdei Chemed. And I will always cherish my memories. A number of summers ago, my family and I were brought on board the staff of Camp Sdei Chemed by Rabbi Gottesman, and I spent the summer with him there. I had the opportunity on Tisha B'Av to walk along with Rabbi Gottesman from the Jaffa Gate to the Makom HaMikdash, to the place where it was, where the Beit HaMikdash was. I can sense Rabbi Gottesman at that time probably felt the same way. That he understood it might be destroyed now, but it will be rebuilt. Rabbi Gottesman, Rabbi Gottesman, your memory, everything you stood for, your love for Eretz Yisrael, your love for Talmidim, the way that you showed us how to be both teachers, how to be students. Rabbi Gottesman, you have comforted us. Hadron Allah, Elu, Halokut, Mislikallah, Mesefes Matos. Hadron Allah, Mesefes Matos, Hazrach Allah, Dadron Allah, Mesefes Matos, V'daitach Allah. L'nis Nisheminon, Ninach, Mesefes Matos, L'sis Nisheminon, L'ba'olma Hadin, L'ba'olma De'aseh. Yiratzon L'Lufanecha Adonai Eloheinu B'leil Tzim Shetis Arascha U'Manoseinu Ba'olam Hazeh V'Zeh Imanu Ba'olam Haba. Chanina Bar Papa, Rami Bar Papa, Nachman Bar Papa, Achoi Bar Papa, Abamori Bar Papa, Rafram Bar Papa, Rafish Bar Papa, Suruchav Bar Papa, Alda Bar Papa, Dora Bar Papa. Haravna Adonai Eloheinu Stivei Surascha B'Finu V'Fifios Anu Chabeis Yisrael V'Nihi Yet Kulanu Anachnu. It said so, Ein of it said so, Ein said so, Ein of it said so, E'ana Chabeis So Kulanu Yodei Shemach V'Lom V'Dei Surascha L'Shmach. The Oivai Techad Mini Mitzvah Zacha Kilo Olav Yili. Yili Bisanim L'Chukecha L'Mam L'Evosh V'Olam L'Oshchach Pigudecha Kivan Chiyisani. Baruch Atah Adonai Rabbeinu L'Chukecha Amin 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 Salam O'ed. V'Demanachnu L'Chukecha Adonai Eloheinu B'leil Tzim Shesamach Chalkinim Yosh Beis HaMidrash Lo Samach Chalkinim Yosh Pironos. She'anu Mashkinim V'Hem Mashkinim. Anu Mashkinim L'Divrei Sorah Hem Mashkinim L'Dvar B'Kilim. Anu Amelim V'Hem Amelim. Anu Amelim V'Makabim Sachar V'Hem Amelim V'Hem Makabim Sachar. Anu Ratzim V'Hem Ratzim. Anu Ratzim L'Chayo Olam Haba V'Hem Ratzim L'De'er Shachas She'Ne'amar V'Ata L'Hem T'Ridim L'De'er Shachas Anshe D'Vim L'Mirmah L'Yachatzim V'Hem V'Ani Et Kachpa. Yiratzom L'Fenecha Adonai L'Hai Kishem Sh'Azar Tanu L'Zayim L'Seches Makos Kit Azmeinu L'Askil L'Maseftos L'Svar Machir L'Sayman L'Lmod L'Lamed L'Shmar L'Asos L'Chaim Es Kol Divrei Salmud Torsecha Ba'ahava וזכוס כל התנאים המוראים וסלמידי חכמים יעמודי וזרעי Shlos Samush Hatomim Kizari Zerazari Adolam, this is kind B, this Halacha Tancha Osach, Bishach Bachatish Ma'onacha Lakitzosa, Hisichecha, Kivi Yurbuya Mecha, Yosifu Lachashnos Chayim, Orechim Bimina, Bismola Osha Bechavod, Adonai Ozlam Moikin, Adonai Reches, and Mol Bashalom. I'm going to say the Kaddish now, everybody should stand up. Yiskadel, Shnei Rabbi, Yolmadihu Asid Iskadasa, Ulachaya Meisaya, Ulasakaya Sumlachai Oma, Ulabibli Kardihi Rishleim Lashach Lola Echle Hugava, Ulmekar Pochana Nura Adin Hara, Ulasava Pochana Yishmaya Lahasre, Yamlich Kutshabrihu, the Malach Hussein Bikare, the Chayachon Yamechon, Ulchayin Chovis Israel, Babalav is man Karid Viru Amen. Yehei Shnei Rabban Barak Alam Olanei Olamaya Yisparach Yishtabach Yispar Yisraman Yisnasei Yiskador Yiskalel Yishalom Shmei Dekuchabri Leilam Min Koper Chasa Vishirasa Tishpachasa V'nechamasa Damiran Ba'alama Viru Amen Am Yisrael Yal Rabbanan Bal Talmidehon Bal Kol Talmidei Salmidehon Bal Kol Manda Osakin Ba'oraisa Diva Asra Hadein V'diva Chol Asar V'asar Eilhon Ulchon Shalom Rabba China V'chizdav Rachamin V'chayin Arichin Umzonei Revichei Ufer Kana Min Kadam Amhom Dibishmaya V'imru Amen Hey Shalom Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Oleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen Say Shalom B'Ramav, we say Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Friedler and all the Rabbeim for making the Siyum very meaningful, as I announced before, during the Shloshim occasion. The third and final part of our program this morning is to announce 3 initiatives that we will be undertaking. Le'ilu Nishmat, Rav Moshe ben Osher Zeller, Rabbi Gottesman. The first, Rabbi Radansky already spoke about, and that's going to be the mitzvah initiative. During your first period class, you'll be given a form. You can choose a mitzvah that we ask you to commit to, and do your best. We don't expect perfection, but we expect that when you commit, you commit. And whether it's davening, whether it's brachot, whether it's wearing tzitzit, whatever it is, make it a commitment. And if it's an honor system, meaning if you say you committed and you're trying hard, we're going to trust that you're doing so, and you're going to be entered into a raffle every month. There'll be special prizes that we'll be giving out. The first raffle will be taking place right after winter break. So we hope that you make that commitment soon, and then you honor it not only when you're here at school, but throughout the winter break as well. That's the initiative number 1. The second initiative, you're going to see later today, these beautiful flyers hanging around the school. We're launching an essay contest on Hakarat HaTov, attitude of gratitude. Okay, because this is the midah, one of the many midah that Rabbi God has been embodied. And there's going to be a prompt that you will be given. What role does Hakarat HaTov play in your life? And the essays must be 300 words and include a Torah source, a story about either Rabbi Gottesman or Hakarat HaTov in general, and ideas to develop Hakarat HaTov. And the top 3 prizes will be getting Amazon gift cards, $100, $50, $25, and we will be taking all of the submissions and we will be compiling a book that we will present to the Gottesman family. It will be a very special opportunity, and we really hope that many of you, all of you, take advantage of this. You'll see on the bottom of the flyer it says that the essays need to be submitted by March 15th, and there's a email address, Rabbi Gottesman Memorial Essay at Hank.org, that you see there, that's where the essays go. I want to thank the Morod who put this together, More Fink, More Walden, More Hennepin, More Benson. Thank you for arranging that. And finally, the third initiative we're going to be doing, and our hope is to have this done right after Pesach, is we will be making a siyum on all of Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. Okay, we're going to ask current students, alumni, parents, board members to participate and sign up for Prakim of Mishnayot that we're going to learn, Le'ilu Nishmat of Moshe Ben Asher Zelig, Rabbi Gottesman, and we will have an event shortly after Pesach where we'll invite the family, make a siyum, and actually hopefully at that event we might even have this book together that we can present to the family, and it's going to be really a beautiful opportunity to honor Rabbi Gottesman once again and to pay tribute to his entire family who are partners with him. There's still going to be a few minutes, around 25 minutes left of learning. I want to ask them when we go back to your class that you dedicate to today's learning to really Nishmas of Moshe Ben Asher Zelig. Okay, it's going to be period 3. Okay, not period 4, but period 3, and then lunch. Thank you for coming.